Hello all, welcome to this session. In this session, I'm going to answer one of the Java interview questions. That is, write a Java program to demonstrate for each loop. Let me answer this question with practical demonstration. First of all, for each loop in Java programs is specially used for working with arrays and collections framework. Okay. In other areas, we may use other loops like while loop, do while loop, for loop. But coming to the for each loop, it is specially designed for working with arrays and collections framework. So if I have to write a Java program to demonstrate for each loop, definitely we have to use either arrays or collections framework to demonstrate this for each loop. In this session, as an answer for this question, I'm going to demonstrate multiple ways or multiple places where we can use for each loop in our Java programs. But you can use one of them while answering this question, or you can use multiple things and you can explain and you can demonstrate multiple programs or write multiple Java programs containing the usage of for each loop with arrays and collections framework. Okay, so let's begin by switching to the Eclipse IDE. Here I'm going to create a new class. I'll just create a new class here. I'll just name this class as class 18. Class 18 main method. First, I'll show you how to use for each loop with arrays. Okay. Integer array AR is equal to, I'll give the shortcut representation of the array like 9, 5, 1, 7, 8, 6, 2, 3, 4. Like this, some values I have given randomly. Okay. Now, if I have to iterate through this integer array, we can either use while loop, we can also use do while loop, we can use for loop also, but the best loop for using with arrays is for each loop, guys. Okay, whenever you have the chance to use for each loop over any other loops with arrays, you have to give the preference to the for each loop. So I'm going to use for each loop. It looks similar to the for loop only. For loop, for keyword with a circular bracket, starting of the for loop, ending of the for loop. Here you have to make a decision. Inside the circular brackets, you have to specify one data type. So that data type is nothing but if you take any individual element here, for example, either you take 5 or 6 or 2, individually speaking, not together, individually, if you take this element, this is of which type? It's of int type, right? It's of int data type. So write int here and mention, let's say element A, E, anything you can write there. You can give any variable name and say, give the name of the array here. After colon symbol, you have to give the name of the array. So here you have to declare a variable with individual data type of this element. Okay. Individually, if you see an element, one of the element you take like 2 or 8 or 9 or 7, you take something. And what is the individually, what is the data type here? Int. Like that, you have to decide the data type. And after that, you have to specify the variable, provide the colon symbol. And after that, you have to specify the array name. So then you have to use system.out.println e. This is how very simple it is, guys. Just run the code. This is how we have to use the for each loop. I'll explain how the iteration will happen and how the values of the arrays are getting printed. I'll tell you how the elements of the array are getting printed from 9 to 4. Everything is got printed 9, 5, 1, 7, 8, 6, 2, 3, 4. But how the for each loop will get executed, I'll tell you now. Just understand what I'm trying to explain. So when you start running this code, the array will be created and initialized with all these elements. Okay. Then it will go to the for loop where it will check in this particular array. Do we have any elements? Yes. The selected things are the elements. In that, what is the first element? 9 is the first element in the selected element. So 9 will be assigned to E and will go inside the for each loop. Since one element from the array is assigned to this variable, that means it will go inside the for each loop. And here that element which is holding 9 will be printed. So 9 will be printed here. Then after what happens, again, the control will come back here to the array and any other elements left out. Yes, these are the highlighted elements. In that, what is the first element? 5. In the remaining elements, 5 is that 5 will be assigned to here. And since it is assigned, we'll go inside the for each loop and here E means 5 will be printed. Okay. Then after that, control will come back here and what are the remaining elements? These are the remaining elements. In the first element is 1 will be assigned and 1 will be printed. Okay. And after that remaining elements, these are the remaining elements. In that 7 is the first element, 7 will be assigned and 7 will be printed here when you print it. Then remaining elements, these are the remaining elements. In that 8 is the first position, 8 will be assigned, 8 will be printed here. Remaining elements, these are the remaining elements for array. When you say AR means remaining elements in the array are 6, 2, 3, 4. In that 6 will be assigned, 6 will be printed here. Then remaining elements 2, 3, 4. In the first element 2 will be assigned and 2 will be printed. In the remaining elements of the array AR 3, 4 are there. In the 3 will be assigned and 3 will be printed. In the remaining elements of the array, only 4 is left out. 4 will be assigned and 4 will be printed. Are there any other elements in the array after 4? No elements. So we'll come out of the for each loop. This is what will happen, guys. And if you want to all these elements to be printed in the same line, instead of using print ln, you use print. And here provide some space also. That's okay. After printing that elements, right? This kind of output you will get 9, 5, 1, 7, 8, 6, 2, 3, 4 will be printed in the output. Okay. So this is how we can use for each loop with arrays, guys. Similarly, this program you can give an answer for this question. If you get this kind of question in the interview, you can give this particular program as an answer for this question, or you can also go with the collections framework and demonstrate one of the example from the collections framework. In collections framework, you can take anything like array list, hash set. Okay, anything you can take. I'll go with the array list. I'll create an array list here from collections framework. Array list, a list is equal to new array list. I'll create an object for the array list class like this. And here, import this array list from java.util package. And after that, this array list is of generic class type. And we have to specify the type parameter here in the less than greater than symbols to specify which type of objects you can store into the array list. Only objects can be stored. We cannot give int data type here in the array list. Okay. The type parameter cannot be specified as int because primitive data types kind of elements cannot be stored into the array list. Instead, you can go with integer if you want. Okay. Now add the elements to the array list using a list dot. There are many ways to add the elements to the array list. One of the way I'll show you. I'll add the elements like this 9. A list dot. Instead of writing in multiple lines, I am writing in a single line. You can also write in multiple lines, guys, like this. You can also write like this, but just to save the space right of the program, I'm writing like this. Okay. A list dot add of a list dot add of a list dot add of let's say 1. Okay. A list dot add of 7. A list dot add of 8. I think this many elements are enough, guys. I added up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements. That's okay. Or you can write these statements in separate lines also. That's also fine. If you want to save the lines, you can write in single line, but otherwise you can, semicolon is there, which will separate the lines anyhow. Now, if you want to iterate through all these elements of this array list and print the elements of the array list, we can use for each loop. For each loop can also be used with collections. For each loop is specially designed. You can also use normal for loop here because this element will be stored at the index 0, index 1, index 2, index 3, index 4. I can use a normal for loop. But the better loop, if you talk about when you are dealing with arrays or collections framework, is a for each loop. So here, how to decide the type of the elements here? Each and every element, if you take either 9 or 5 or 1 or 7 individually, if you take, of which type they are of integer type. So here we have to write integer here, guys. Integer I colon. You can give E also, I also, anything you can give, and the name of the array list you have to give. A list is the name of the array list. Okay, A list is the name of the array list. Array list is from collections framework, guys. While arrays are fixed in size, array list is flexible in size or global in size. So system.out.println simply print the value of element I. Print the element I. So it works for each loop with array list also works in the same way. So here, when you are running the code, what will happen? When you are running the code, here also print ln I'm saying for now. Later I can convert if required. That's okay. But otherwise it's not required. So what happens here is like, it will first create an array list of type parameter as integer and generic class is array list generic class. Okay. Which has a type parameter specified beside that. Okay. So then next thing is that we can add all these elements. 9 is added first, then 5 is second, 1 third, 7 fourth, and 8 fifth position. Okay. Now, if I say for each loop, here A list means 9, 5, 1, 7, 8 will be there. In that, what is the first element? 9. 9 will be assigned here. 9 integer object element will be assigned to I. And when you print I, 9 will be printed in the output. After that, again, A list will check any other array list elements are there. Any other elements are stored in the array list. Yes, 5, 1, 7, 8 is there. In the first element, 5 will be assigned and 5 will be stored, printed here. Then any other elements 1, 7, 8 in that 1 will be assigned and will go inside the for each loop and 1 will be printed. Object 1 will be printed. Then A list will check any other elements left out in the array list 7, 8. In that 7 will be assigned. 7 will be object 7 will be printed here. Any other elements? Yes, only 8 is there. 8 will be assigned and will go inside the for each loop and 8 will be printed. After 8, any other elements? No. So we'll come out to the for each loop. This is how the for each loop will work with the collections framework. One of the example I took from the collections framework is the arrays. You see 95178, 95178 got printed. So either this program or this program you can demonstrate, guys, in the interviews. Okay, when you get this kind of question. So hope, guys, I've answered this question for you with practical demonstration in this session. So that's all for this session. Thank you. Bye bye.